You become what you think. Those 5 words carry the weight of your entire life. Look around where you are right now is the result of the thoughts you've been repeating to yourself every single day. If your mind is filled with worry, hesitation, and self-doubt, your life will mirror that. If your mind is built on clarity, confidence, and discipline, your life will reflect strength and progress. This is not about magic, it's about psychology and daily choices. Every morning, you think something about yourself, and that thought becomes the foundation for how you act. The problem is, most people never stop to question those thoughts. They accept them as truth, even when those thoughts are the very reason they feel stuck. In this complete guide, we'll strip away the noise and focus on building a mind you can trust. A mind that works for you, not against you, because when you master your thinking, you master your life. Chapter 1. Train your brain to notice every thought you create. You become what you think. That is not just a nice phrase to remember. It is the foundation of your entire life. Every single result you see around you right now began with a thought in your mind. The way you feel about yourself, the choices you make, the habits you live with, and the opportunities you attract all start inside the small, private world of your thinking. Most people never train their brain to notice the thoughts they are creating every single moment. They move through the day unaware of the inner voice that is quietly shaping their future. That is why the first step to mastering your mind is to train your brain to notice every thought you create. The truth is, your thoughts are not neutral. They are either moving you forward or holding you back. When you wake up in the morning and tell yourself, "I'm tired, I don't feel like working, I'll do it later," you are not just expressing how you feel. You are instructing your brain on what kind of day it should build for you. That thought sets a direction, and if you don't notice it, if you let it pass without awareness, it becomes a command your life begins to follow. On the other hand, if you catch that thought in the moment, you can challenge it. You can decide whether it deserves to stay or be replaced. This is the power of noticing. Most people have never practiced the skill of noticing their own thoughts. They live inside them as if those thoughts were facts. If you think you are not good enough, you start living small. If you think the world is against you, you start ignoring opportunities. If you think you cannot change, you stop trying. None of these are facts. They are thoughts that have been repeated so many times they begin to feel true. And unless you notice them, they become the script of your life. Training your brain to notice thoughts requires a new way of paying attention. Think about the last time you were frustrated. Maybe you missed a deadline or someone criticized your work. In that moment, dozens of thoughts fired off in your mind. Thoughts like, "I'm always failing," or "people don't appreciate me," or "I'm not capable." These thoughts came quickly and quietly, but if you had paused for a moment and noticed them, you would have seen that they were just responses, not truths. You would have had the chance to say, "Wait a minute, is this really true, or is this just my reaction?" That pause is where your power begins. The human brain produces thousands of thoughts every day. Many of them are recycled from yesterday. If you want to change your life, you must stop living on autopilot and start paying attention to the stream of thoughts flowing through your mind. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You begin to see how negative or unhelpful some of your thoughts really are. But that awareness is a gift. Because once you notice them, you can work with them. You can choose to keep them, or you can choose to let them go. How do you actually train your brain to notice every thought you create? You begin with small practices. The first practice is to pause before reacting. When something happens, instead of jumping straight into action, stop for a second and ask yourself, "What am I thinking right now?" This simple question forces you to bring hidden thoughts into the light. You may realize you are thinking, "This will never work," or "I'm going to embarrass myself." By asking the question, you create space between the thought and your response. The second practice is journaling. At the end of the day, write down the main thoughts that guided your actions. Maybe you believed, "I don't have enough time," and so you wasted hours avoiding the important work. Maybe you thought, "I'm not ready," and so you avoided the opportunity. When you see your thoughts on paper, you begin to notice patterns. You realize that certain thoughts return again and again to block your progress. That awareness is the first step toward changing them. The third practice is self-observation during ordinary routines. When you're walking, driving, eating, or working, take a moment to ask, "What's on my mind right now?" You may notice you're thinking about what could go wrong. You may notice you're criticizing yourself for something small. You may notice you're comparing yourself to someone else. These observations reveal how much of your energy is wasted on thoughts that weaken you, and once you see them, you can redirect them. As you begin to notice your thoughts, you'll also notice how they affect your body. A stressful thought speeds up your heartbeat, tenses your muscles, and makes your breathing shallow. A calm thought slows everything down and creates ease in your body. By paying attention to these signals, you can catch negative thoughts earlier. When your body feels heavy, ask, "What thought just passed through my mind?" By connecting the body with the mind, you build a deeper awareness. Another part of training your brain is learning not to judge the thoughts you notice. Many people feel discouraged when they see how negative their inner dialogue can be. But remember, noticing is progress. The goal is not to have perfect thoughts. The goal is to see them clearly so you can choose which ones to believe. It's like shining a light in a dark room. Once the light is on, you can see what's there and decide what to keep and what to remove. Why is this so important? Because every achievement in life begins with a thought. If you think you can improve, you take action. If you think you cannot, you don't even try. If you think you deserve better, you seek better. If you think you're stuck, you stay stuck. That is why your future is being written right now, not by chance, but by the thoughts you are creating. And the only way to shape that future is to notice those thoughts and take control of them. The most successful people are not free from doubt or fear. They have simply trained themselves to notice those thoughts quickly and redirect them. When doubt arises, they see it, they challenge it, they replace it with a thought that pushes them forward. This is not luck, this is training, and like any training, it becomes stronger the more you practice. You must remind yourself daily that your thoughts are choices, not commands. When you say, "I can't do this," that is not reality speaking. That is your mind presenting one option. You have the ability to choose another. But the choice only exists if you notice the thought in the first place. Otherwise, you are carried along without control. Begin small. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, notice the first thought that enters your mind. Is it heavy? Is it inspiring? Is it neutral? Write it down. Decide whether it deserves to shape your day. This single practice can change the direction of your entire morning, and if you repeat it enough times, it can change the direction of your entire life. Notice also the thoughts that come when you fail. Failure is not final, but the thoughts around it often convince people to give up. If you notice the thought, "I'm a failure," you can stop and correct it. You can tell yourself, "I failed at this task, but I am not a failure." That small shift changes how you respond. Without noticing, you might give up. With awareness, you try again. Another area where noticing is crucial is comparison. In today's world, it's easy to compare yourself to others. You see someone further ahead, and your mind whispers, "You'll never catch up." If you don't notice that thought, it becomes truth. But if you see it clearly, you can respond, That's just a thought. My path is different. That awareness protects your motivation. With practice, you begin to see your thoughts almost like signposts. Each one points you toward a direction. Some lead you toward growth, others toward decline. The act of noticing gives you the power to choose which direction you will follow. That is the essence of mastering your mind. You become what you think, and since thoughts are created every moment, your life is always being shaped. The question is, are you aware of what you are creating? Are you paying attention to the thoughts that guide your choices, your words, your relationships, your health, your career? If not, you are living by default. But if you begin to notice, you can live by design. Your brain is not your enemy, it is your tool. But like any tool, it must be used with skill. The skill begins with awareness. Once you can see the thoughts you create, you can decide which ones deserve power. You can feed the ones that strengthen you and starve the ones that weaken you. This is not easy, but it is possible. And it begins with the simple, powerful act of noticing. If you train your brain to notice every thought you create, you will never again be at the mercy of invisible forces. You will see the patterns, the lies, the doubts, and the fears as they arise. You will choose which ones to keep and which ones to discard. You will begin to create a mind that serves you rather than limits you. And slowly, steadily, your life will rise to the level of your new thoughts. Because at the end of the day, the truth is clear. You become what you think. And if you want to become more, think more. If you want to rise higher, notice the thoughts pulling you down and replace them with ones that lift you up. The power is already in your mind. All you have to do is train yourself to see it. Chapter 2. Question your beliefs until you know they truly serve you. Every human being lives under the influence of beliefs. These beliefs shape how we see ourselves, how we view others, and how we respond to opportunities or challenges. Some beliefs give us strength and push us to grow. Others keep us stuck and stop us from reaching our potential. What makes beliefs powerful is that many of them operate quietly in the background. They feel permanent, almost like unchangeable truths. But the fact is, most of your beliefs were learned. They were picked up from parents, teachers, culture, past experiences, and repeated thoughts. If you never stop to question them, they will run your life without your permission. To truly master your mind, you must question your beliefs until you know they truly serve you. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself something like, "I'm not the kind of person who can do that," or "People like me don't succeed in that field," or "I always struggle with discipline"? These are not facts, they are beliefs. They may feel real because you've repeated them so many times, but repetition does not equal truth. A belief only deserves to stay if it pushes you forward. If it weakens you, it is nothing more than a chain holding you down. The first step is to identify your current beliefs. That means paying attention to the stories you tell yourself when you face challenges. When an opportunity comes up, do you say, "I can figure this out," or do you say, "This is not for me"? When you fail at something, do you think, "This is proof I can improve"? Or do you think, "This shows I'm not good enough"? These inner sentences reveal your beliefs. They show you whether your mind is set on growth or fixed on limitation. Awareness always comes first. You cannot question what you have not identified. Once you've identified a belief, the next step is to ask whether it truly serves you. This is not about whether it feels comfortable. Many limiting beliefs feel comfortable because they protect you from risk. Telling yourself, "I can't do this," might reduce fear in the moment, but it also keeps you from learning and growing. The real question is, does this belief make me stronger or weaker? Does it move me closer to the life I want, or does it hold me back? If it does not serve your growth, it does not deserve to stay. Some of your deepest beliefs were formed in childhood. Maybe you were told you weren't smart, and so you believed intelligence was something you lacked. Maybe you failed once in front of others, and you believed you should never take risks again. These beliefs made sense at the time. They were your brain's way of protecting you. But now, as an adult, you have the power to revisit them. You have the power to ask, is this belief still useful? If the answer is no, then it's time to let it go. Changing a belief doesn't happen overnight. It happens by replacing it with a stronger, more accurate one. Let's say you've always believed you're not disciplined. If you accept that belief, you'll never even attempt to build discipline. But if you question it, you might notice that you've been disciplined in certain areas of life already, maybe in showing up to work, caring for your family, or sticking to a routine you enjoy. That shows the belief, "I'm not disciplined," is false. By questioning it, you can replace it with, "I can grow discipline by practicing it daily." The second belief empowers you, while the first one kept you trapped. Beliefs also shape how you see the world. If you believe people are untrustworthy, you will live guarded, never allowing deep connections. If you believe people are generally kind, you'll create more openness and stronger relationships. Neither belief is absolute truth. Both are interpretations, but one creates isolation while the other builds connection. This is why questioning beliefs is so important. It allows you to choose the ones that create the life you want. Another example is money. If you grew up believing money is evil, you may sabotage opportunities to earn more. If you believe money is a tool for freedom and contribution, you'll pursue it with confidence. Again, neither belief is fixed in stone, but the one you choose will decide your financial future. That is the weight of belief. It doesn't just live in your mind. It directs your actions and therefore your results. Questioning your beliefs also means challenging the comfort they give you. A belief like, "I'm not ready," often hides fear. By holding on to it, you avoid stepping into the unknown. But what if you asked, "What would happen if I acted anyway?" That single question can dissolve years of hesitation. Comforting beliefs often prevent growth. Growth begins the moment you are brave enough to question them. To make this practical, set aside time to write down your strongest beliefs about yourself. Write down what you believe about your intelligence, your discipline, your relationships, your potential, your future. Then, for each one, ask, "How do I know this is true? Who taught me this? Does this belief make me stronger or weaker?" Be brutally honest. If a belief does not serve you, it's time to replace it. Replacing a belief requires evidence. Your brain will resist change unless you give it proof. For example, if you've believed you can't stick to habits, start small and create a track record of success. Commit to a small habit like drinking water every morning or writing down 3 priorities for the day. Each time you succeed, you gather evidence against the old belief. Over time, your brain accepts the new belief because it now has proof. Beliefs grow stronger when matched with action. This process is not about ignoring reality. It is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about facing the truth that your beliefs shape how you interpret reality. 2 people can experience the same event. One sees it as a chance to grow, the other as proof of failure. The difference is not in the event, it's in the belief system. By questioning and choosing your beliefs, you take back control over how you experience life. One of the most dangerous beliefs people carry is, "I cannot change." That single sentence has destroyed more potential than anything else. If you believe you cannot change, you will never attempt to. If you question that belief, you'll see millions of examples of people who changed dramatically. People who overcame addiction, rebuilt careers, transformed health, and renewed relationships. The evidence is everywhere, but unless you question the belief, you won't even see it. Another limiting belief is, I don't deserve success. This belief often hides deep feelings of unworthiness. But where did that come from? Usually from experiences long ago. Maybe you were criticized or made to feel small, but as an adult, you must ask, does this belief help me? Does it make me live better? If not, it must be challenged. Every human being deserves to pursue their best life. Any belief that denies that truth should be removed. Notice how questioning beliefs creates freedom. It gives you space to choose again. Instead of living by inherited beliefs, you begin to design your own. This is not about arrogance. It is about responsibility. You are responsible for the beliefs you live by. And if a belief is hurting you, it is your duty to replace it with one that helps you. Even small beliefs matter. If you believe mornings are difficult, every day starts with struggle. If you believe mornings are a fresh chance, every day starts with energy. If you believe exercise is painful, you avoid it. If you believe exercise makes you stronger, you seek it. These small beliefs compound over time into habits, and habits create your lifestyle. Nothing is too small to question. The key is persistence. Beliefs that have lived in your mind for years won't disappear after one question. You must return again and again, reminding yourself that you are no longer controlled by them. Every time you catch a limiting belief and replace it with a useful one, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. Over time, your mental foundation becomes solid. You start living from beliefs that serve your highest goals. Your future depends on what you believe right now. If you carry beliefs that hold you down, your actions will reflect them, and your results will remain limited. If you build beliefs that empower you, your actions will rise, and so will your results. This is why mastering your mind means mastering your beliefs. The truth is simple. You will not always control circumstances, but you will always control what you believe about them, and those beliefs will decide how you respond. That is the difference between people who grow and people who remain stuck. One group questions beliefs until they serve them. The other group never questions at all and lives by default. You do not have to accept every thought that crosses your mind. You do not have to accept every belief you were given. You can stand back, look at them, and ask, does this serve me? Does this belief make me stronger? If the answer is no, it is time to let it go. And remember this, the quality of your life is the quality of your beliefs. When your beliefs support your growth, your life expands. When your beliefs restrict you, your life shrinks. The choice is yours. Train yourself to question every belief until only the ones that serve you remain. That is how you free your mind, and that is how you create a life worth living. Chapter 3. Challenge the excuses your mind gives to stay comfortable. Every one of us has a dream of doing better. Maybe you want to build a stronger body, earn more income, study a new skill, or live with more discipline. The challenge is not that you don't know what to do. Deep down, you already know. You know eating better will improve your health. You know working consistently will improve your career. You know managing your time will make you more productive. The real battle is the excuses your mind creates to keep you comfortable. These excuses are convincing. They sound reasonable. They sound like they are protecting you. But the truth is, they are holding you back from the life you deserve. If you want to master your mind, you must challenge the excuses your mind gives to stay comfortable. Excuses come in many forms. Sometimes they sound like I'll start tomorrow. Sometimes they sound like I'm not ready yet. Sometimes they sound like I don't have time. Sometimes they sound like this is too hard. Each excuse has the same goal, to stop you from leaving your comfort zone. The comfort zone feels safe, but it is also where nothing changes. If you always stay where you are comfortable, you will never experience growth. And if you want a better life, growth is not optional. It is required. The first step to challenging excuses is to recognize them as lies. They are not truths about your ability. They are stories your mind tells to avoid discomfort. For example, the excuse "I'll start tomorrow" is not about tomorrow. It is about avoiding the effort today. The excuse "I don't have time" is not about time. It is about priorities. The excuse "I'm not ready" is not about readiness. It is about fear. The excuse "it's too hard" is not about difficulty. It is about avoiding struggle. Once you see excuses for what they are, you can begin to strip them of their power. Your mind is designed to keep you safe. It prefers what is known and familiar. When you try to do something new, your brain sends warning signals. It whispers excuses to convince you to step back. That may have been useful in the past, when survival depended on avoiding risk. But in today's world, those excuses prevent growth. If you want to advance in any area of life, you must face the discomfort your mind tries to shield you from. Challenging excuses is not about denying reality. It's about refusing to accept false limitations. If you say "I don't have time," look closer. How many hours do you spend on television scrolling, or conversations that add no value? Time is not the issue. Focus is. If you say "I'm not ready," ask yourself, when will I ever feel ready? Readiness rarely comes first. Action creates readiness. If you say "this is too hard," remind yourself that difficulty is part of the process of growth. Hard things become easier only after you practice them. Excuses hide the truth, and your job is to pull the truth back into the light. One way to fight excuses is to confront them directly. When your mind says "I'll start tomorrow," respond with "What can I do right now?" When it says "I'm not ready," respond with "I'll prepare as I move forward." When it says "This is too hard," respond with "It's supposed to be hard at first." By answering your excuses with better questions and stronger responses, you train your mind to accept responsibility instead of surrendering to comfort. Excuses are dangerous because they sound so reasonable. If you are tired, "I'll rest today and start tomorrow," sounds logical, but one day becomes two becomes a week, and suddenly months have passed. If you feel nervous, "I need more time before I begin," feels safe, but waiting for the perfect moment means you never begin. If you don't challenge these thoughts, they will build a cage around your potential. That is why awareness alone is not enough. You must be bold enough to confront and replace them. The cost of excuses is invisible at first. You don't notice what you lose today. You feel a little relief because you avoided discomfort. But the long-term cost is enormous. Every excuse delays your progress. Every excuse strengthens a habit of avoidance. Every excuse adds up until years of your life are gone, and you are still in the same place. If you want a different future, you cannot allow excuses to go unchallenged. Think about the excuses you've been living with. Maybe you've told yourself you're too old to learn something new. That's an excuse. Many people start fresh careers and skills later in life. Maybe you've told yourself you don't have enough talent. That's an excuse. Skills can be developed with practice. Maybe you've told yourself you need someone's permission or approval to move forward. That's an excuse. You already have the ability to start. The moment you begin identifying excuses for what they are, you begin to break free from them. Challenging excuses requires honesty. You must admit when you are hiding behind them. Most people don't want to face this truth because it feels uncomfortable. But honesty is the foundation of change. You can tell yourself 1,000 times that you are too busy, but deep down you know it is not time that is missing. It is commitment. And once you admit that, you have the power to choose differently.
You will also notice that excuses multiply when you aim higher. The bigger your goal, the louder the excuses become. Set a goal to wake up earlier, and your mind will excuse you with, "You need more sleep." Set a goal to work harder, and your mind will excuse you with, "You deserve a break." Set a goal to build something important, and your mind will excuse you with, "You don't have what it takes." The higher you climb, the more resistance you face. This is proof that you are moving in the right direction. If you weren't challenging yourself, your excuses wouldn't fight back so hard. One strategy to defeat excuses is accountability. When you share your goals with someone you respect, it becomes harder to hide behind excuses. If you commit to exercise with a friend, the excuse "I don't feel like it today" loses power because you don't want to let them down. Accountability exposes excuses to the light, and they lose strength when they are not hidden. Another strategy is building discipline through small actions. Excuses thrive when you try to take on too much at once. If you try to completely transform your life overnight, your mind will bombard you with reasons to quit. But if you start with one small step and repeat it daily, you build confidence. Small wins silence excuses, because they prove progress is possible. You also need to remember that excuses don't disappear permanently. They will always try to return. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not the absence of excuses, but the refusal to obey them. Every time you ignore an excuse and take action, you weaken its hold over you. Every time you obey an excuse, you make it stronger. The choice is always yours. Imagine your life without excuse. Imagine how much progress you would make if you acted when you didn't feel ready, if you worked when you didn't feel motivated, if you started today instead of waiting for tomorrow. That life is possible. The only barrier is the excuses you allow to control you. Once you see through them, you realize you were capable all along. The people who rise in life are not those who have no fear or no doubt. They are the ones who hear the excuses and challenge them. They say, "I don't need to wait for tomorrow. I'll begin now." They say, "I may not be ready, but I'll learn on the way." They say, "Yes, it's hard, but that's what makes it worth doing." They refuse to let comfort control them, and because of that they grow. Your mind will always prefer comfort, but comfort will never give you growth. Growth demands discomfort, risk, effort, and persistence. The only way to reach it is by walking through the wall of excuses. The good news is, you already have the power to do it. All you need is the courage to recognize excuses for what they are, and replace them with action. So the next time your mind tells you to wait, challenge it. The next time it tells you you're not ready, challenge it. The next time it says it's too hard, challenge it. Because every excuse you overcome is a victory for your future. And every excuse you obey is a step back into the comfort zone that keeps you small. The decision is in your hands. Your life will either be a story of excuses or a story of growth. You cannot have both. If you want a better future, stop believing the lies your mind creates to protect your comfort. Start living by truth, discipline, and action. The excuses will always be there, but they don't have to define you. What defines you is whether you rise above that. And when you do, you'll realize something powerful. The only thing standing between you and the life you want was never the lack of ability, the lack of opportunity, or the lack of time. It was the excuses. And once you challenge them, they lose their power. From that moment forward, your life becomes yours to shape, and that is when you begin to see what you're truly capable of.
Chapter 4. Replace automatic negative thoughts with conscious positive choices. Most people don't realize how many negative thoughts run through their minds each day. These thoughts appear without warning and without permission. They say things like, "You're not good enough," "This will never work, you always fail," or "People won't accept you."
They come so quickly that you hardly notice them, yet they shape your mood, your actions, and eventually your life. These thoughts are automatic, built from years of repetition, past experiences, and fear. If you want to master your mind, you cannot let these automatic patterns control you. The challenge is to replace automatic negative thoughts with conscious positive choices. Automatic negative thoughts feel real because they arrive with emotion. You feel the tightness in your chest, the doubt in your stomach, or the heaviness in your shoulders. You hear the inner voice saying, "Don't even try." And because the thought is paired with emotion, it feels like truth. But a thought is not a fact. It's only a suggestion your mind is offering. You have the ability to either accept it or replace it. The power lies in your choice. The first step is to recognize that these negative thoughts are not you. They are habits of the mind. Just as you can form the habit of brushing your teeth every morning, your brain can form the habit of doubting you or criticizing you. Over time, these habits become automatic. They show up the moment you face a challenge or step outside your comfort zone. The mistake most people make is believing these thoughts define them. They don't. They are simply old programs running in the background, and like any program, they can be rewritten. Once you notice a negative thought, the next step is to pause. Instead of reacting to it, stop and name it. For example, when your mind says, "I'll probably fail," you can respond by saying, "That's just a negative thought." This simple act of naming creates distance between you and the thought. It turns it from a command into an option. By pausing, you open the door to a new choice. Now comes the replacement. The goal is not to deny the negative thought, but to consciously choose one that empowers you. If your mind says, "I'll probably fail," replace it with, "I can learn and improve as I try." If your mind says, "I'm not good enough," replace it with, "I am capable of growing into who I want to be." If your mind says, "This is too hard," replace it with, "Every skill feels hard at the beginning, and I can get better." By making these conscious substitutions, you begin to rewire your brain. It's important to understand that positive choices are not fake optimism. They are realistic statements that move you forward. A negative thought says, "You'll never change." A conscious positive choice says, "Change takes effort, but I can take one step today." That is not pretending life is easy. That is choosing to believe in your ability to grow. Positive choices are rooted in responsibility, not fantasy. At first, replacing negative thoughts will feel unnatural. Your brain is so used to the old patterns that the new ones feel uncomfortable. But remember, every habit feels awkward when you first practice it. Over time, the new pattern becomes automatic. The brain works through repetition. The more you replace, the easier it becomes until your automatic response shifts toward the positive. One practical exercise is to create a list of common negative thoughts you face. Maybe your mind often says, "I'll never have enough time," or "People don't respect me," or "I can't handle stress." Write these down. Then next to each one, write a conscious positive choice you can use as a replacement. For example, instead of "I'll never have enough time," you write, "I can choose what matters most today." Instead of "People don't respect me," you write, "I can earn respect through consistent action." Instead of "I can't handle stress," you write, "I can take things one step at a time." Keep this list with you and use it when the automatic thoughts show up. Another powerful method is self-talk in the moment. When you catch a negative thought, speak your positive replacement out loud. Your voice carries authority over your mind. Hearing yourself declare a stronger thought reinforces it in a way silent thinking cannot. Over time, your spoken words train your inner dialogue. What you say out loud becomes what you believe inside. Replacing negative thoughts also requires patience. The brain does not change in a day. Some automatic thoughts may have been with you for years, even decades, but every time you replace one, you weaken its grip. Imagine a path in a field. The more you walk it, the deeper it becomes. That is how negative thoughts fall. But if you stop walking the old path and start walking a new one, eventually the old path disappears and the new one becomes clear. Consistency is the key. You will also notice that automatic negative thoughts often appear strongest in moments of growth. When you're about to start something new, your mind might flood you with reasons why it won't work. That is the brain's way of trying to protect you from failure. But the same brain can also be trained to encourage you. By replacing the negative thought with a conscious positive choice, you teach your brain that new challenges are opportunities, not threats. Think about the impact this shift can have on your life. Imagine walking into a difficult meeting, and instead of thinking, "I'll embarrass myself," you consciously choose, "I'll share my ideas with clarity and calm." Imagine waking up and instead of thinking, "This day will be stressful," you choose, "This day is a chance to grow stronger." Imagine failing at something, and instead of thinking, "This proves I can't succeed," you choose, "This is feedback that will help me improve." These choices shape your attitude, and your attitude shapes your result. Another benefit of replacing negative thoughts is how it affects your relationships. When you believe automatic thoughts like "no one cares about me," you distance yourself from others. But when you replace that with "I can build meaningful connections," you open yourself to kindness and support. When you believe "people are always against me," you live defensive and closed. But when you replace it with "I can find allies and partners," you build trust. The thoughts you carry don't just affect you, they affect everyone around you. This practice also strengthens your emotional control. Negative thoughts fuel anxiety, frustration, and hopelessness. When you replace them, you calm your emotions and regain balance. Instead of reacting with fear or anger, you respond with clarity. That control is what separates those who succeed from those who remain stuck. Life will always bring challenges, but how you think determines whether those challenges break you or build you. As you practice, notice the small victories. Maybe you replaced a thought that used to paralyze you. Maybe you kept moving forward despite the doubt in your mind. Celebrate these wins. Each time you replace a negative thought, you take back a piece of your power. Over weeks and months, those small victories add up to a new identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't surrender to negativity, but consciously chooses strength. Replacing automatic negative thoughts with conscious positive choices is not about creating a perfect mind. It's about creating a useful one. Everyone will still experience negative thoughts from time to time. The difference is whether you let them control you, or you step in and take charge. Once you practice enough, your automatic thoughts themselves begin to change. They become more supportive, more encouraging, and more aligned with who you want to be. The truth is simple: your thoughts build your life. If you allow automatic negative thoughts to dominate, you live a limited life. But if you replace them with conscious positive choices, you build a stronger, freer, and more fulfilling life. The choice is always available. It is available right now in this very moment. Whatever thought is running through your mind, you can choose a better one. The real transformation happens when you no longer wait for inspiration to strike. Instead, you build the discipline to replace thoughts every day. You don't wait for the perfect conditions. You act in the moment. Each replacement is like lifting a weight for your mind. Over time, your mental strength grows, and with that strength, you can face bigger challenges and create bigger results. So the question is, what thoughts will you allow to live in your mind? Will you let the old, automatic, negative ones continue to lead you, or will you step in and replace them with conscious choices that build the life you want? The answer will decide your future, because at the end of the day, your life is nothing more than the result of the choices you make with your mind. And when you choose positivity consciously, you open the door to the best version of yourself.
Chapter 5. Strengthen focus by practicing one clear thought at a time. Most people today are pulled in too many directions at once. Their minds jump from one idea to another without finishing anything. They check their phone, then they switch to their work, then they think about what to eat, then they remember something they forgot yesterday. The mind never stops racing. The problem with this scattered thinking is that it destroys focus. Without focus, you can't give your best to anything. Without focus, you spread your energy thin and your results remain average. To master your mind, you must learn to strengthen focus by practicing one clear thought at a time. Focus is not something you are born with, it is something you train. Your brain has the ability to concentrate deeply, but only if you practice. The truth is, most people are practicing distraction every day. By constantly switching attention, they train the mind to expect interruption. They build the habit of never finishing. If you want a powerful life, you need the opposite habit, the habit of holding one thought long enough to bring it to life. When you give attention to a single thought, something important happens. That thought gains power. It becomes sharper, more detailed, and more useful. A scattered thought fades quickly. A focused thought grows strong. For example, if you sit down to think about improving your health and you stay with that thought, you begin to see real solutions. You think about food choices, exercise routines, rest and daily practices, but if your attention keeps drifting to unrelated things, the thought never has time to grow. Focus gives depth to your thinking. Practicing one clear thought at a time begins with slowing down. Instead of letting your mind race, you stop and choose. You decide what matters in this moment. Maybe it's solving a problem at work. Maybe it's spending time with your family. Maybe it's planning your next step in life. Whatever it is, you bring that single thought to the center of your attention. You tell yourself, this is where I am. This is what matters right now. That deliberate choice creates focus. Another way to practice is by writing. Take one thought and write about it for several minutes without allowing your mind to wander. Writing forces clarity. When you write, you can't jump endlessly from idea to idea. You must stay with the thought long enough to put it into words. This practice sharpens your focus muscle. It also helps you separate useful thoughts from noise. Many times what feels complicated in your head becomes simple once written down. Focus is also strengthened through environment. If you surround yourself with distractions, your mind will naturally wander. If you want to practice one clear thought, you need to remove competing signals. That means putting your phone away, turning off notifications, or finding a quiet space. The environment you choose either supports focus or destroys it. Create conditions where one thought can live without interruption. It's important to understand that the brain resists focus at first. When you try to concentrate on a single thought, your mind will attempt to pull you away. It will say, check this, think about that, or you forgot something. This resistance is normal. The key is not to obey it. Each time you bring your attention back to your chosen thought, you are training your brain. Over time, this repetition strengthens your ability to hold focus longer and with less effort. The power of practicing one clear thought goes beyond productivity. It also reduces stress. Much of stress comes from juggling too many thoughts at once. You think about work, money, health, family, and responsibilities all at the same time. Your brain is not designed to carry all of that at once, but when you choose one thought, you lighten the load. You tell yourself, I don't need to solve everything right now. I just need to give attention to this one step. That brings calm. Clarity also comes through focus. When your mind is scattered, decisions feel confusing. But when you practice holding one thought, the right choice becomes clearer. Imagine thinking deeply about your career.
Instead of juggling dozens of unrelated worries, you stay with the single thought, what is the next best step for me? By staying with it, you filter out the noise and arrive at a clear direction. One thought at a time brings simplicity to life. You can begin training today by setting small focus periods. Take 10 minutes and commit to thinking about only one subject. When distractions appear, gently return to your chosen thought. At first, you'll notice your attention drifting constantly, but with practice, you'll hold the thought longer. Over weeks and months, your ability to focus will grow, just like a muscle grows with exercise. You'll also find that focus builds confidence. When you stay with one thought until it leads to action, you prove to yourself that you can control your mind. That proof builds inner strength. You no longer feel like a victim of endless distraction. Instead, you feel like the master of your attention. This confidence spreads to every area of life. You start trusting yourself more because you know you can direct your thinking where it matters. One clear thought at a time also improves relationships. When you speak with someone and give them full attention, without checking your phone or drifting away, they feel valued. They feel respected. This kind of presence is rare, and it builds trust. On the other hand, when your attention is divided, people sense it. They feel dismissed. Practicing focus in conversations is one of the most powerful ways to build meaningful connections. Focus is not only about tasks and goals, it is also about the quality of your inner life. When you allow your mind to scatter, you live shallowly, but when you practice one thought at a time, you live deeply. You notice details, you appreciate moments, you engage fully. Whether it's eating a meal, walking outside, or spending time with loved ones, focus makes the experience richer. It's easy to underestimate how much power a single clear thought carries. History is full of people who built their lives around one strong idea. While most minds were scattered, they focused. They stayed with their vision long enough to make it real. You don't need to change the world to benefit from this principle. Even in your daily life, holding one thought leads to better results. One thought carried through with action creates progress. To truly master focus, you must also practice letting go of unnecessary thoughts. Many people waste hours replaying the past or imagining the worst about the future. These thoughts add nothing useful. When they appear, you can notice them and release them. You can tell yourself, this thought doesn't deserve my energy. By doing so, you free up space for one thought that matters. Focus is not only about choosing what to think, but also about refusing what doesn't serve you. The strength of your focus will decide the strength of your future. If your attention is scattered, your results will be scattered. If your attention is directed, your results will be powerful. This is not about doing everything at once. It's about doing one thing fully, then moving to the next. That discipline separates those who achieve from those who only wish. The next time your mind races, stop and choose one thought. Hold it, work with it, follow it until it brings clarity or action. Don't let your attention jump endlessly. Train it, direct it, strengthen it. Over time you will discover the peace, confidence, and results that come from mastering one thought at a time. Because in the end, your life is not built from scattered moments. It is built from focused decisions. And those decisions begin with the ability to strengthen focus by practicing one clear thought at a time. When you master this, you stop being pulled by distractions and start being driven by direction. And that is the path to building the life you want.
Chapter 6. Rebuild confidence by proving small wins to your own mind. Confidence is not something you are given. It is something you build. Many people wait for confidence to appear before they take action, but confidence doesn't work that way. Confidence grows only after action, and not from huge leaps, but from small wins, consistent, visible proof to your own mind that you can follow through, that you can trust yourself, that you are capable of progress. If you want to rebuild confidence, you must focus on stacking those small wins until your mind begins to believe in you again. Most people lose confidence because of broken promises to themselves. They say they will start the diet on Monday, but by Wednesday it's gone. They say they will wake up early, but the alarm is ignored. They say they will save money, but the impulse purchase takes over. Every time this happens, the mind records it, and the more often it happens, the more your mind begins to doubt you. That doubt eats away at confidence. The opposite is also true. Every time you follow through, no matter how small the action, your mind records that too. It says, I can trust myself. That is how confidence is rebuilt, one small promise kept at a time. A small win might look insignificant to others, but it is powerful for you. Waking up on time, completing a workout, reading 10 pages, saving a little money, finishing a task you've been delaying. These are victories. The size doesn't matter. What matters is that you set out to do something, and you did it. The mind pays attention, it notices, and with every win, the belief in yourself strengthens. One of the fastest ways to rebuild confidence is to stop chasing perfection and start collecting proof. People who struggle with confidence often think they need a giant achievement to feel worthy again. They wait for the big breakthrough, but breakthroughs are rare. What builds confidence is proof. Small, repeated actions that your mind cannot deny. When you look back at a week filled with small wins, you feel stronger. You have evidence. Confidence without evidence is fragile. Confidence built on proof is unshakable. If you want to put this into practice, begin by setting goals so small that excuses cannot stop you. Tell yourself, today I will walk for 10 minutes. Then do it. Tell yourself, I will drink water instead of soda. Then do it. Tell yourself, I will spend 10 minutes cleaning my space. Then do it. These are not massive tasks, but they are concrete actions. By finishing them, you prove to yourself that you can direct your behavior. That proof is the foundation of confidence. Another important point is honesty. When you set goals too big and fail repeatedly, your mind stops trusting you. That is why honesty is crucial. Don't tell yourself you'll run 10 miles if you've never run one. Start with 1 mile. Achieve it. Then build up. Each honest step creates a record of wins. Confidence grows because your mind sees consistency instead of broken promises. The human brain responds to evidence more than intention. You can tell yourself all day that you are confident, but if you don't see proof in your actions, the mind won't believe it. That is why affirmations without action fail. Words don't convince the mind, results do. The quickest way to rebuild belief is to align your actions with what you say you will do. Every small action becomes a vote for your ability to trust yourself again. As you rebuild confidence, you will notice how much lighter you feel. Self-doubt is heavy. It slows you down and makes everything seem harder. But when you see yourself following through on promises, the heaviness begins to lift. You feel capable again. You feel in control again. You stop being afraid of challenges because you've proven you can handle small ones already. That strength carries into bigger areas of life. One of the most powerful aspects of small wins is momentum. At first, the effort feels small, almost meaningless. But over time, these wins compound. Reading 10 pages daily turns into finishing several books in a year. Saving a little each week turns into a financial cushion. Exercising for a few minutes grows into real fitness. Small wins create motion, and motion builds belief. Once your mind sees results, it begins to expect more.
And that expectation is the heart of confidence. Rebuilding confidence also requires patience. If you've spent years breaking promises to yourself, it will take time to rebuild trust. Don't demand instant transformation. Demand consistency. Give yourself time to prove, over and over again, that you follow through. Confidence grows steadily. Each day adds a brick to the foundation, and with enough bricks, you build something unshakable. You also need to learn how to celebrate your small wins. Too many people dismiss them as unimportant. They say, "It's only 10 minutes, it's only one step, it's only a small change." That thinking destroys progress. Small wins are not only, they are everything. They are the seeds of big wins. By celebrating them, you reinforce the behavior. You tell your mind, "This matters." That reinforcement strengthens the habit and multiplies your confidence. Another strategy is to track your wins. Keep a journal where you record every promise you kept. When doubt creeps in, you can look back and see the proof of your progress. The mind forgets easily. It remembers failures more quickly than successes. By keeping a record, you remind yourself of the truth: you are growing. You are winning. You are improving. That record becomes a source of confidence in itself. Confidence is not arrogance, it is quiet strength. It is the knowledge that you can rely on yourself. When you rebuild confidence through small wins, you don't need to brag or compare. You feel calm because you know the truth: you can handle life. You have shown it to yourself, and that is enough. This kind of confidence cannot be shaken by outside opinion, because it is built on your own evidence, not on validation from others. Small wins also train your brain to focus on progress instead of perfection. Perfection is the enemy of confidence. If you demand flawless results, you will always feel inadequate. But if you focus on progress, every step forward becomes a victory. You stop comparing yourself to an impossible standard and start acknowledging the growth that is happening right now. That shift changes everything. Rebuilding confidence with small wins is especially important after failure. Failure can crush belief if you allow it. But if you treat failure as feedback and start stacking small wins immediately, you recover faster. You remind yourself that one failure does not define you. The wins prove that you are still capable, still moving, still in control. Confidence rebuilt this way is even stronger, because it has survived setbacks. You must also be careful with the company you keep. Surround yourself with people who recognize and encourage your small wins. Being around those who only point out shortcomings can slow your progress. Confidence grows faster in an environment of support. Find people who value progress, not perfection. Share your wins with them and let their encouragement strengthen your belief. Confidence is not built in one grand moment. It is built in daily moments. It is built when you choose discipline instead of delay, when you choose effort instead of excuses, when you choose to finish what you start. Every choice is a chance to add one more win to your record, and every win is another step toward the stronger, more confident version of yourself. When you look back months or years from now, you will see that your life was shaped by hundreds of small decisions. You will see the evidence that rebuilt your confidence. You will see that you became strong, not because of one huge success, but because you proved to yourself, day after day, that you could be trusted to act. That is how confidence is rebuilt and how it lasts. So start where you are. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait until you feel ready. Pick one small action, do it, and mark it as a win. Then repeat tomorrow. Keep building. Keep proving. Keep stacking evidence. Because when your mind has enough proof, confidence will no longer be something you chase. It will be something you live, and that is the reward of this practice. You stop living with doubt and hesitation. You stop questioning whether you are capable. You know, because you have built the proof yourself. That quiet knowledge changes how you walk, how you speak, how you approach challenges. It changes how you see yourself. And when you see yourself differently, the world begins to respond differently too. Confidence is not a gift handed to the lucky. It is a structure built brick by brick through small wins. Rebuild it by proving every day that you can. And once you've done that enough times, you will never again doubt what you are capable of becoming.
Chapter 7. Reset your thinking by changing what you pay attention to. Your mind is always being shaped by what you give attention to. Every piece of information, every conversation, every image, every voice you allow into your world leaves a mark. Most people don't realize how much power their focus carries. They wake up and immediately look at their phone. They scroll through endless noise, arguments, opinions, and negativity. They let the outside world decide what fills their head. And by the end of the day, they feel drained, distracted, and uninspired without even knowing why. The truth is simple. If you want to reset your thinking, you must change what you pay attention to. What you pay attention to grows stronger. If you constantly pay attention to problems, your life will feel like one big problem. If you focus only on fear, your world will seem dangerous. If you feed yourself nothing but doubt, you will live with hesitation. On the other hand, if you give attention to growth, opportunities, learning and discipline, your life begins to shift in that direction. The mind follows the focus, and when the focus changes, the entire quality of your thinking changes with it. You have to ask yourself, where is my attention going each day? Are you feeding yourself with information that builds you, or are you feeding yourself with distractions that weaken you? Are you surrounding yourself with people who encourage growth, or are you drowning in the complaints and limitations of those who gave up long ago? Resetting your thinking begins by becoming aware of what you allow to enter your mind. You cannot plant weeds and expect flowers. You cannot consume negativity all day and expect to live with clarity and purpose. Start by looking at your daily habits. Notice how much time you spend on things that give you no real return. Endless scrolling, gossip, comparing yourself to others, these steal your attention. They create noise in your head and block the clarity you need. If you continue feeding your attention to these distractions, your thinking will remain shallow and restless. But if you redirect that same attention toward learning, planning, reflecting, and taking action, your thinking begins to reset. It becomes sharper, it becomes more intentional. Changing what you pay attention to does not require you to abandon everything overnight. It requires conscious choices. When you pick up your phone, you can choose to watch content that teaches instead of content that wastes. When you read, you can choose books that expand your perspective instead of opinions that shrink it. When you speak with others, you can choose conversations that inspire rather than conversations that pull you down. These choices may seem small in the moment, but over time, they rebuild your entire mental framework. Think of your mind like a room. Whatever you pay attention to is what you bring into that room. If you constantly drag in negativity, criticism, and distraction, your room becomes cluttered and dark. But if you fill it with knowledge, gratitude, goals, and discipline, the room becomes brighter and more ordered. The mind cannot stay neutral. It will always reflect what you allow inside. Resetting your thinking is nothing more than cleaning that room and deciding carefully what gets to enter. Paying attention to the wrong things is why many people live stuck. They give more attention to what they cannot control than to what they can. They obsess over the opinions of strangers, yet ignore the habits that shape their own life. They focus on everything that might go wrong, yet give no thought to the actions that could make things go right. If you want to reset your thinking, you must shift your attention from what drains you to what builds you. That shift is where your power begins. One powerful way to practice this is to keep track of what occupies your mind during the day. Carry a small notebook or use your phone to record moments when you catch yourself
focusing on something useless. Maybe you spent 20 minutes replaying a conversation you can't change. Maybe you wasted an hour watching things that left you feeling worse. Maybe you fixated on what you lack instead of what you could build. By recording these patterns, you start to see how much of your mental energy is being wasted. Awareness is the first step to change. Once you become aware, you must replace. It's not enough to just stop paying attention to the wrong things. You must actively give your focus to the right things. If you notice yourself lost in negative news, shift to studying something that improves your skill. If you notice yourself comparing your life to others, shift to planning your own next step. If you notice yourself focusing on failure, shift to what you learned and how you can try again. Resetting your thinking is about redirecting attention again and again until your mind learns a new pattern. It also helps to create rituals that guide your attention. Begin your mornings with practices that set your focus right. Reading, writing, planning, or even sitting quietly and asking yourself what truly matters today. End your evenings by reflecting on what went well instead of replaying what went wrong. These rituals act as anchors. They remind you to choose where your attention goes, rather than drifting unconsciously. Another critical part of resetting your thinking is controlling your environment. The people you spend time with influence what you pay attention to. If you surround yourself with those who only complain, you will find yourself focusing on problems. If you surround yourself with people chasing goals, you will naturally focus on possibility. The energy of your environment seeps into your attention whether you like it or not. Choose wisely. Resetting your thinking also means learning to guard your attention like a valuable resource. Because it is, your attention decides what ideas grow in your mind. It decides what opportunities you notice. It decides whether your days are spent productively or wasted. Most people treat their attention carelessly, giving it away to whoever demands it. But if you want a different life, you must treat your attention as sacred. You give it only to what truly matters. As you change what you pay attention to, you'll notice a transformation in how you feel. Anxiety begins to decrease when you stop feeding your mind with constant fear. Motivation rises when you pay attention to progress instead of perfection. Hope increases when you focus on solutions instead of problems. Confidence grows when you feed your mind with evidence of small wins. All of this begins with the simple decision to redirect your attention. You'll also find that your goals become clearer. A scattered mind produces scattered results, but when you reset your thinking by directing attention toward one step at a time, the noise fades and direction emerges. Instead of being overwhelmed by everything at once, you see the next move clearly, and when you can see the next move, you can act on it. Progress is made by moving forward one clear step at a time, not by drowning in endless distractions. The habit of resetting your attention also builds resilience. Life will always throw challenges your way. If your attention is fixed on the pain or the unfairness, you will feel weaker. But if you redirect your focus towards solutions, growth, and what you can control, you become stronger. The challenge doesn't disappear, but your thinking changes, and with it, your ability to handle the situation improves. This practice is not easy at first. Your old habits of attention will pull you back. You'll find yourself slipping into negative patterns again and again. But each time you notice and redirect, you are rewiring your mind. It's like training a muscle. The more you lift it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, choosing what you pay attention to becomes second nature. And that is when your thinking truly resets. The quality of your life always reflects the quality of your focus. If you give your attention to things that matter, your life begins to matter more. If you waste your attention on things that drain you, your life feels wasted. The good news is, attention is always under your control. You may not control every event, but you control where you place your focus. And that choice makes all the difference. So decide today to reset your thinking by choosing carefully what you pay attention to. Guard it. Direct it. Invest it in what makes you stronger, because your mind is not built by accident, it is built by focus, and when you control that focus, you control the direction of your entire life.
Chapter 8. Direct your inner voice to speak with clarity and strength. Every person has an inner voice. It speaks constantly, whether you notice it or not. It comments on what you do. It judges your performance. It predicts your future, and it interprets the world around you. Sometimes it encourages you, but too often it criticizes, doubts, and weakens you. This voice has more influence on your life than almost anything else. It decides how you feel about yourself, what choices you make, and how much strength you carry into challenges. If you want to master your mind, you must learn to direct your inner voice to speak with clarity and strength. Think about how many times you've been stopped by that voice. You've had an idea and immediately your inner voice said, "That will never work." You've wanted to take a chance and it whispered, "You'll embarrass yourself." You've looked at a goal and it told you, "You're not good enough." The voice doesn't just describe what's happening, it decides how you experience it. And if you let it run wild, it will keep you stuck. But the truth is, that inner voice can be trained. It can become your coach instead of your critic. It can speak with clarity instead of confusion, and with strength instead of fear. The first step is awareness. You have to catch yourself in the moment when the voice speaks. Most people never do this. They accept whatever the voice says as reality. But the inner voice is not reality, it is interpretation. Two people can face the same situation, and their inner voices will tell them completely different stories. One hears, "This is your chance to grow." The other hears, "This is proof you'll fail again." The event is the same, but the inner dialogue creates different outcomes. That's why awareness matters. When you notice the words your voice is using, you begin to understand how it shapes your choices. Once you notice the voice, you must decide whether it deserves to be believed. Not every thought deserves your trust. If the voice says you can't do this, ask, "Is that true, or is that fear speaking?" If the voice says you'll never succeed, ask, "What evidence do I have for that?" This simple act of questioning creates clarity. It shows you that the voice isn't an all-knowing guide, it's just a habit of thought. And habits can be changed. Directing the inner voice requires replacing confusion with clarity. When your thoughts are scattered, your inner voice reflects that chaos. It jumps from fear to doubt to distraction. To create clarity, you must speak to yourself in simple, direct terms. For example, instead of letting your mind say, "This is too complicated, I'll never figure it out," you replace it with, "I don't know everything yet, but I can learn the next step." That statement is clear. It doesn't pretend the challenge is easy, but it focuses your energy on what you can do. Clarity cuts through the noise and gives you direction. Strength comes from the tone of your inner voice. Notice the difference between "I might try" and "I will do it." Notice the difference between "I'll give up if it's too hard" and "I'll keep going until I finish." The words you choose determine the level of strength you feel. Weak language produces weak results. Strong language creates determination. When you speak to yourself with certainty, your actions follow. One practical way to strengthen your inner voice is to create specific phrases you repeat in challenging moments. Not empty affirmations, but real believable statements that keep you grounded. When you face doubt, you might say, "I can handle this step." When you face fear, you might say, "I've overcome before, I can overcome again." When you face setbacks, you might say, "This is temporary, and I will adjust." These phrases become tools. They redirect your voice from negativity to strength.
The way you talk to yourself also affects your emotions. A harsh, critical voice creates stress and anxiety. A clear, supportive voice creates calm and confidence. This doesn't mean you lie to yourself or ignore problems. It means you choose words that help you deal with problems effectively. Instead of saying, "This always happens to me," you say, "This happened, now what's my response?" Instead of saying, "I'm hopeless," you say, "I'm learning how to handle this." The event is the same, but the voice changes how you experience it. It's also important to notice how your inner voice speaks in small, everyday moments. When you spill something, does your mind say, "I'm so stupid," or does it say, "I made a mistake, I'll clean it up"? When you forget something, does it say, "I'm useless," or does it say, "I'll improve my system so I remember next time"? These small comments add up. Over time, they either build a mind filled with strength or a mind filled with weakness. Directing your inner voice is not about perfection. You won't always think positively. Doubt and criticism will still show up. But the goal is to guide the overall pattern of your self-talk. If most of your words are clear and strong, the occasional negative one won't destroy you. Just like a healthy diet can handle a little junk food, a healthy inner voice can handle a little negativity. What matters is the direction of the whole pattern. Your environment influences your inner voice as well. If you spend time around negativity, your inner voice will echo it. If you surround yourself with encouragement, your voice will reflect it. That's why it's important to choose wisely what you watch, read, and listen to. These inputs become material for your self-talk. If you want a voice of strength, feed it with examples of strength. If you want clarity, feed it with wisdom. Another method to train your inner voice is journaling. Write down what your voice says in different situations. Then rewrite those statements with clarity and strength. For example, if you wrote, "I'll never finish this," rewrite it as, "I can finish one step at a time." Over time, this practice retrains the voice inside your head. It teaches your mind a new way of speaking. You'll notice that the stronger your inner voice becomes, the more resilient you feel in life. Challenges still come, but you don't collapse under them. Criticism still arrives, but you don't internalize it. Failure still happens, but you don't label yourself as a failure. You respond with strength because your voice directs you that way. Confidence is not about ignoring difficulty. It's about choosing the right inner dialogue when difficulty appears. This practice also builds integrity with yourself. When your inner voice is scattered and weak, you don't trust it. But when it is clear and strong, you rely on it. That reliability creates inner alignment. You stop fighting against yourself. You stop sabotaging your own efforts. You become your own supporter instead of your own enemy. That shift is one of the most powerful transformations you can experience. Clarity in your inner voice also brings clarity in decision-making. When your self-talk is filled with doubt, you hesitate. You second-guess every move. But when your voice is firm and simple, you act with confidence. Even if you don't have all the answers, you move forward because you trust your ability to figure things out. That trust is what creates progress. Over time, you will notice that directing your inner voice creates a different identity. You no longer see yourself as someone controlled by fear and doubt. You begin to see yourself as someone who speaks with authority to their own mind. That identity shift is powerful, because once you see yourself differently, you begin to live differently. You stop settling for less and start aiming higher. The voice inside your head is the voice you hear the most in your lifetime. It is with you in every moment, in every challenge, in every victory, in every failure. If you don't train it, it can destroy your potential. But if you direct it, it becomes your greatest ally. It becomes the source of clarity when everything feels uncertain, and the source of strength when everything feels heavy. So take control of that voice. Decide today that it will no longer weaken you with confusion and doubt. Teach it to speak clearly. Teach it to speak strongly. Guide it with the words you choose, the inputs you consume, the practices you repeat. Because when your inner voice speaks with clarity and strength, your entire life begins to reflect that clarity and strength. And when you reach that point, you'll discover that mastery of the mind isn't about never having negative thoughts. It's about never letting those thoughts be the final word. It's about ensuring that the strongest and clearest voice in your life is your own, and that it speaks with the kind of direction that makes you rise higher, act bolder, and live with greater confidence every single day.
Chapter 9. Measure your progress by tracking patterns in your daily thinking. Progress in life is not measured only by money, titles, or recognition. Real progress begins in the mind. The quality of your thoughts decides the quality of your actions, and the quality of your actions decides the quality of your results. If you want to know how far you've come, don't just look at your achievements. Look at your thinking. Measure your progress by tracking patterns in your daily thoughts, because your thoughts always come before your actions, and your actions always create your future. The truth is, most people never stop to examine the flow of their thoughts. They wake up, go through the day, and fall asleep without noticing the patterns running through their head. They assume their struggles are caused by outside circumstances, yet they never realize how much their inner world drives their choices. If you don't track your thinking, you will repeat the same mental habits year after year. But once you begin paying attention, you see clearly where your progress is happening and where you're still stuck. Think about this for a moment. Imagine writing down your thoughts each day for a week. At the end of the week, you would start to see patterns. Maybe you worry about the same things again and again. Maybe you doubt yourself in the same situations. Maybe you complain about similar problems every day. On the other hand, you might notice new patterns, moments when you encouraged yourself, moments when you focused on solutions, moments when you took responsibility. These patterns reveal the direction of your life. You cannot change what you don't measure. Tracking your thinking gives you the information you need to grow. Your brain loves repetition. It prefers to follow familiar paths because they use less energy. That's why negative patterns can become so strong. If you've thought the same way for years, your brain builds shortcuts to keep those thoughts automatic. But by tracking your daily thinking, you interrupt that autopilot. You bring awareness to the process, and awareness is the first step toward change. The act of noticing a repeated pattern already weakens its hold, because you no longer accept it blindly. One effective way to measure progress is through journaling. Set aside a few minutes each day to record your most common thoughts. Don't just write events. Write what you thought during those events. If you felt anxious before a meeting, write the thought that triggered the anxiety. If you avoided a task, write the thought that justified the avoidance. Over time, you'll see what thoughts dominate your days. That record is more valuable than any external measurement because it shows the roots of your behavior. As you review your notes, ask yourself key questions. Am I thinking more positively than before? Am I focusing on what I can control instead of what I can't? Am I encouraging myself or tearing myself down? Am I creating thoughts that make me stronger or weaker? By answering these questions honestly, you can see whether your mind is moving in the right direction. And if you notice harmful patterns, you now have a target to work on. You'll also discover that progress in thinking is often gradual. 1 month ago, you may have been consumed with doubt every morning. Today, maybe you still feel doubt, but you also add one positive thought before starting your day.
That may not feel like a huge achievement, but it's progress. It means you're slowly shifting the balance of your mind. Tracking allows you to see this slow transformation that you might otherwise overlook. Another way to measure is by rating your thoughts. At the end of each day, review your major thoughts and rate them on a scale. Were they mostly supportive, neutral, or negative? Over time, you'll notice the ratio changing. The goal is not to eliminate every negative thought. The goal is to make sure the balance tips in favor of useful, empowering thought. By giving yourself a way to measure, you hold yourself accountable to the direction of your thinking. Measuring your thinking also teaches responsibility. When you write down your thoughts, you can no longer blame everything on outside force. You see in black and white the words you've been repeating to yourself. You see how often you tell yourself you can't, how often you tell yourself it's too hard, how often you say later. That honesty can feel uncomfortable at first, but it's necessary, because once you admit the role your thinking plays, you gain the power to change it. Your progress will also show up in how quickly you recover from negative thoughts. In the beginning, a single discouraging thought may ruin your whole day, but as you train yourself, you notice it faster and replace it sooner. What once controlled you for hours now loses power within minutes. That's real progress, even if the thought still appears. Tracking helps you see how your recovery time improves, and that improvement builds confidence. It's important to remember that measuring your thoughts is not about judging yourself harshly. It's about understanding yourself honestly. You will always have some doubts and fears. You will always have some negative thoughts. The goal is not perfection. It's growth. As long as your patterns are moving toward more clarity, more strength, and more responsibility, you are progressing. The mind is like a garden. Measuring your thoughts shows you which areas need more care and which areas are already blooming. This practice also prevents you from deceiving yourself. Many people convince themselves they're improving because they feel motivated for a few days, but feelings can be misleading. Progress must be measured in evidence. When you track your thoughts and see real patterns changing, you have undeniable proof. That proof is what keeps you moving forward even when motivation fades. Over time, measuring your thoughts creates a powerful loop. You notice patterns, you adjust them, you see improvement, and the improvement motivates you to keep going. Each cycle strengthens your belief that you can control your mind, and once you truly believe that, there is no limit to how far you can go. Because if you can direct your thoughts, you can direct your actions, and if you can direct your actions, you can direct your entire life. Consider how different your life becomes when your dominant thought patterns shift. Instead of "I'm not ready," your mind now says, "I'll start and learn on the way." Instead of "This is too hard," your mind says, "I can break this down step by step." Instead of "Nothing ever changes," your mind says, "Every day I'm improving." That transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens by paying attention, by tracking, and by consciously steering your mind. You may find it useful to review your thought patterns weekly or monthly. Sit down with your journal or notes and ask, what is the main theme of my thinking this week? Was it fear, or was it growth? Was it doubt, or was it responsibility? Was it distraction, or was it focus? The themes you notice reveal whether your mind is moving in the right direction, and if it isn't, that awareness gives you the chance to reset before the pattern becomes stronger. Tracking your daily thoughts also helps you predict challenges. If you know you often think negatively in the morning, you can prepare a practice to reset your mind at the start of the day. If you know you get discouraged when facing setbacks, you can prepare phrases to redirect yourself. By understanding your patterns, you stop being surprised by them. Instead, you meet them with strategy. The process of measuring thoughts may seem simple, but it separates those who drift through life from those who grow intentionally. Drifting means you never ask why you think what you think. Growth means you pay attention, you measure, and you adjust. Over time, the difference between these two approaches becomes massive. One leads to repeating the same year over and over. The other leads to continuous improvement and a life built on purpose. When you begin this practice, be patient with yourself. At first, the patterns may discourage you. You may realize just how many negative thoughts run through your mind, but don't see that as failure. See it as clarity. You cannot fix what you cannot see. The fact that you now see it means you're already ahead. From there, each adjustment is progress. Your thinking is the foundation of your life. If you want to know whether you're truly changing, don't just look at results outside of you. Results often lag behind. Instead, look at your thought patterns. If they are growing stronger, clearer, and more positive, the external results will follow. Measuring them gives you confidence that you're on the right path, even when the outcomes aren't visible yet. So make it your practice to track your thoughts daily. Write them down, review them, look for patterns, notice where you're improving and where you still need work. Celebrate the growth you see, correct the habits that hold you back. Keep measuring until the patterns of your thinking align with the life you want, because when your thoughts improve, your life cannot stay the same, and that is the real progress worth measuring. Not just what you own, not just what you achieve, but how your mind is evolving each day. When you train yourself to pay attention to your patterns of thought, you take control of the most important area of growth. And with that control, everything else in life begins to rise to meet the strength of your new mind.
Chapter 10. Decide your identity every morning and live it fully. Every day begins with a choice about who you will be. Most people don't recognize this power. They wake up and allow yesterday to decide today. They roll out of bed carrying the same identity they carried the day before, sometimes tired, sometimes discouraged, sometimes lost in old labels they've never questioned. But the truth is, identity is not fixed. You are not locked into being who you were yesterday. Each morning offers you the chance to decide again. And if you learn to decide your identity every morning and live it fully, you will stop being a prisoner of your past and start becoming the author of your future. Identity is more than a word. It is the set of beliefs you hold about yourself. When you say, "I'm disciplined," that identity directs your actions. When you say, "I'm lazy," that identity controls your behavior. When you say, "I'm confident," you act with strength. When you say, "I'm insecure," you act with hesitation. Identity is the lens through which you see the world and through which you act in it. The problem is, most people don't consciously choose that lens. They inherit it from experiences, failures, opinions of others, or past mistakes. And once it is accepted, it becomes automatic. The only way to change it is to take responsibility and choose a new one each morning. The reason mornings are so important is because they set the tone for the entire day. The moment you wake up, your mind is open and impressionable. If you don't direct it, old habits will take over. If you don't define your identity, your circumstances will define it for you. Maybe the weather, your mood, or yesterday's failures will decide who you are today. But if you deliberately choose your identity, you set your mind on a path before the world has a chance to distract you. That is how you take control. Imagine the difference between waking up and saying to yourself, "I am tired, I don't want to face this day," versus waking up and saying, "I am disciplined, I am focused, I am ready to grow." The first identity leads to excuses, delay, and wasted hours. The second identity leads to action, progress, and momentum. The events of the day may be the same, but your chosen identity changes how you face them. Deciding your identity every morning does not mean pretending to be someone you are not. It means choosing the qualities you want to live by and aligning yourself with them. If you want to be disciplined, claim that identity. If you want to be resilient, claim that identity. If you want to be a learner, claim that identity. You may not be perfect in these qualities yet, but by choosing them daily, you train yourself to live them. Identity is strengthened by repetition. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Living your identity fully means carrying it into every decision of the day. If you decide,
I am disciplined, then when the temptation to waste time appears, you respond as a disciplined person would. If you decide, I am resilient, then when setbacks come, you respond as a resilient person would. If you decide, I am committed to growth, then when excuses arise, you silence them with action. This is how you make your identity real, by acting in alignment with it, moment after moment. At first, this practice requires effort. Old identities will try to return. If you've thought of yourself as lazy, insecure, or weak for years, those voices will still whisper. But each morning, you override them with a conscious choice, and every day, you live in alignment with your chosen identity. The old labels weaken. Over time, they lose power because your actions no longer match them. You become the person you decide to be. One powerful way to practice this is by using morning declarations, not vague affirmations, but specific statements of identity. For example, I am disciplined and follow through on my goals. I am confident and speak with strength. I am resilient and overcome challenges. Say them clearly, write them down, and carry them into the day. These declarations are not magic. They are instructions to your mind. They remind you of the person you've chosen to be, so your actions can follow. Another way to strengthen this practice is to visualize yourself living your chosen identity. If you decide, I am confident, imagine yourself walking, speaking, and acting with confidence throughout the day. If you decide, I am disciplined, picture yourself staying focused on tasks and finishing what you start. Visualization creates a mental rehearsal. Your brain begins to accept this as normal, making it easier to act accordingly. Living your identity fully also requires accountability. It's easy to declare an identity in the morning and forget it by noon, but when you hold yourself accountable through journaling, reflection, or even sharing your goals with someone you trust, you reinforce your choice. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I live as the person I decided to be this morning? If the answer is yes, celebrate the win. If the answer is no, learn from it and recommit tomorrow. Progress is built on consistency, not perfection. The impact of this practice grows over time. One day of choosing your identity may not seem life-changing, but imagine a year of waking up every morning and deciding to be disciplined, confident, resilient, and focused. Imagine the results of aligning your actions with those qualities every day. You would not just feel different, you would become different. Your life would reflect the strength of your chosen identity. This practice also frees you from the labels other people put on you. Too many people live trapped by what others said about them years ago. A teacher said you weren't smart. A parent said you were irresponsible. A failure convinced you that you were incapable. But when you decide your identity each morning, you take that power back. You no longer accept labels that don't serve you. You define yourself. That is one of the greatest freedoms you can ever experience. It also changes how you handle setbacks. When you face failure without a chosen identity, your old labels rush back. You say, I knew I wasn't good enough. But when you face failure with a chosen identity, you respond differently. If you decided in the morning, I am resilient, then when failure comes, your mind says, this is a test of my resilience. Instead of breaking you, the setback becomes proof of the identity you've chosen. That is how you turn obstacles into fuel. Living your identity fully means embodying it, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Anyone can call themselves disciplined when they feel motivated. The real test is whether you live that identity when motivation is gone. Anyone can call themselves confident when things are going well. The real test is whether you speak with strength when doubt is loud. The more you choose your identity in hard moments, the more unshakable it becomes. Your identity also shapes your future, because your future is built on repeated actions, and actions always flow from identity. If you see yourself as lazy, you will act lazy. If you see yourself as disciplined, you will act disciplined. The identity comes first, the results come second. By choosing your identity each morning, You plant seeds for the future you want. You stop waiting for results to define you, and instead you let your chosen identity create the results. The key is to stop leaving your identity to chance. Too many people allow their emotions, circumstances, or past to define who they are each day. That is why their lives never change. But the ones who transform are the ones who take responsibility. They wake up each morning and say, "This is who I am today," and then they live it fully. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for proof. They decide, and they act. Confidence, discipline, resilience, clarity. These are not gifts given to a few. They are identities anyone can choose, and when you choose them consistently, they stop being choices and start being who you are. That is the power of daily identity decision. Each day is a chance to rewrite the script, to upgrade your standards, to step into the person you want to become. So tomorrow morning, before the world pulls at you, before your old habits creep in, stop and decide. Decide who you are. Say it with clarity. Commit to it with strength. And then live it fully in every action, every decision, every interaction. Because the truth is, your life is nothing more than the story of who you chose to be each day. And if you learn to decide your identity every morning, you'll write a story of growth, strength, and transformation that no one can take from you.